Welcome to Just Minded My Business Media LLC, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. But before we dive in, subscribe to Just Minded My Business on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Share Just Minded My Business with your family, friends, and colleagues. Engage with us by leaving a review or comment. Your support keeps this podcast going and growing. Visit our website at jmmbmediallc.com to learn how we can support you in getting more visibility on your products and services. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. So I am so happy to bring today husband and wife team. I just love it when families working together for a cause. And first up, we have Jamesautherray, who is a New York Times bestselling author, philosopher, and consultant who has worked with over 1 million people from 146 countries through his coaching and leadership programs. He is the author of 6 books, including the New York Times bestseller, Harmonic Wealth, and has appeared on numerous TV shows, including Oprah, Larry King, and The Today Show. In 2009, he lost everything after a tragic accident and became homeless with $20 million in debt. He has since rebuilt his life using the same strategy he teaches his clients. His story is told in the CNN documentary Enlighten Us. Ray is on a mission to positively impact a minimum of 1 billion lives and businesses worldwide. Bersabahray was born in Iran in 1981 during the Iran-Iraq War. Growing up, her childhood disappeared into a cloud of death, violence, and instability. She experienced many traumatic events, such as witnessing the military force take her parents when she was only 4 years old. Her family escaped to Pakistan when she was 7 and eventually smuggled themselves to the United States. She faced many challenges growing up, such as not speaking English, falling into gang behavior, and drug culture. Bersabahray was in abusive relationships for years before finding the self-confidence and courage to leave. In 2013, she met jamesauthorray, and she helped him rebuild his life after he lost everything. As an intuitive consultant, Bersabahray helps people heal from their past and take their power back. Wow. Welcome.
Wow, thank you for having us.
That's a great intro. What do we say now?
I don't know. Where do we go from here?
Ida kind of said it all.
Wow, I just love it when people come together and make a difference. And you guys are really, really phenomenal. So your book, I see you have a book out, The Business of Redemption.
Correct.
Can we talk a little bit about the book?
Well, it's not like any book I've ever written before. You mentioned my New York Times bestseller, Harmonic Wealth. And I wrote that several years ago. And then when I got out of prison, how many of your guests say that? After the horrible accident that occurred in Arizona, and I ended up being charged with negligence, and I went to prison, got out in 2013, and when I got out, I was shattered. And you mentioned a little bit of it. I was 54 years of age. I was homeless. I was alone. I didn't have my lovely wife yet, and I was $20 million in debt. And so I realized I desperately needed redemption. And hear that word in a lot of religious circles, and we're both certainly in alignment with that, And yet, if you look it up, the true definition of the word redemption is to gain or to regain something by paying the price. And so I knew there was a tremendous price to pay as I stood in the desert. And so it's been 11 years now, and it took me 6 years to write that book. It was very cathartic. I never thought I was going to get it right because it was such a catharsis for me. But it's like I said, unlike any book I've ever written previously, because it's more of a memoir. It talks about my entire experience, what I went through, my time in prison, what I learned, and hopefully who I've become in the process.
Yes, absolutely. So, what is the biggest crisis right now the world is facing? And how do we solve this stuff? How do we get through it?
I I personally, and do you want to take that one?
I'll let you dive
And
in.
then you can
Yeah,
build
I'll
on it.
come in.
I personally believe the biggest crisis that we're facing in our world is an existential crisis. It's a crisis of meaning. And, Ida, if you go back historically, and I could riff on this all day, and I'll do my best to be brief, but if you go back historically and you look at our hierarchy, if you will, at general population, it was God, and then it was parents, and then probably country or church, and then maybe some other things as well. And we might disagree on that order, and yet we'd have to agree that God was first. And unfortunately, starting back in the Renaissance, which was a long time ago, and the whole humanistic movement, we've become very, very secular, and we've gotten away from the sacred. And unfortunately, and I'm working on another new book right now, by the way, and I talk about this in the book. And so let's call that relationship with God a vertical principle. Now, obviously, God is not in the clouds. The Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within, and yet, if we kind of metaphorically think of God as being superior and being transcendent, and so that's what I call a vertical perspective or relationship principle. And then we have a horizontal principle. And when that vertical principle is gone, it was Nietzsche who said, when God dies, life becomes weightless. And so what happens is we fall to the horizontal principle, and the only thing we have to judge about morality and principle and virtue and value is observing those around us and saying, this is what's moral, this is what's just, and this is what's right, because we've taken God out of the equation. So I'll stop there. I mean, we could talk a lot more about this if you like or not, but I think that's the biggest problem we're faced with. And it's time for us, in our opinion, to get back to center, to get back to that vertical principle, that organizing principle, which is God.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly because there's nothing that can be done without God. Nothing.
That's true.
Very true.
And taking and when I look at the events of the world today, it feels like what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right. There's
Well,
it's like, okay, what are we doing as a humanity? What's going on here?
yeah,
Agreed.
lies have become truth, and truth have become, and I experienced this when my total world model fell apart in 2009, and Bersabahray, because of where she grew up, she was able to understand it much better than me, because I grew up in America where if you saw something in the media, it was true, and you just believe it. It's just,
Mhm.
if your politicians tell you something, it's right. And so it was very difficult for me initially. And I believe God gave me a gift of literally shattering my entire world model, because I was one of the harbingers, if you will, of what we see as the weaponization of the justice system now, and all the things that are happening. And I'll give you a simple example. In my case, in the trial, and we can go into that if you want or not, but there were numerous individuals who perjured themselves on the witness stand under oath. Well, perjury is a felony and it's punishable by 2 years in prison, but there was no punishment. And now, fast forward, and we see how many countless individuals lying under oath to Congress, and no one is prosecuted because lies are okay now, I guess. Well, not okay. It's not okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, we raise our children not to lie. That's the one thing that will really take me over the edge is when my son told me a lie. I'd rather you tell me the truth, you know, than the lie. Because what happens, you start to create a relationship where you cannot be trusted. And trust is a huge thing.
Yes,
It's
Absolutely.
huge. And once you sever that, it is very difficult to get that back.
well, if you have a
If
big
ever.
problem with lying, you and Bersabahray are going to get along thick as thieves. She has a huge problem with that, and I do
Yes.
too. I just don't tend to get as wound up about it as she does.
All righty. So talk a little bit about the harmonic wealth. Give us a little bit of, you're going to have to come back because you are so rich with so much to talk about that this little bit of time is not enough. So we're going to have like a little series with you guys because when I started going through everything, I was like, oh my God, this is so deep and needs to be talked about.
Yeah. Well, we would love to come back.
Yes.
You want to talk about harmonic wealth? Why don't you?
Harmonic Wealth. This is his baby, I would say. It's five pillars and five main key pillars in life because we talk about that you need all five of these to have live a complete, full, meaningful life. It's not just about money and it's not just about like your physical health or trying to look good is mostly what people try to go after. But I'll let you explain the five pillars for them.
Yeah, if you ask 99% of the people what wealth means, they're going to answer money.
Yeah.
And the truth is that if you trace the etymology, the origins of the word, it literally translates as well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people, Ida, who have a tremendous amount of money, but they're not wealthy because they don't have well-being. And I will tell your viewers, and this may seem against all logic, but it is my experience with over 1 million people from 147 countries now around the world, is that the only people who worry more about money than the financially poor are the rich.
Yep.
And people go, well, how is that? And I tell you, and I've learned that the more you have,
The more you have to lose.
the more you have to lose. And so
Yes.
the people who are financially rich are constantly worrying about sustaining their rich lifestyle.
Mhm.
And that's not wealth. What good is a pile of money if you can't enjoy it? And so
Mhm.
wealth, harmonic wealth, is a term that I've coined and trademarked, and it's a state of harmony and well-being in the five key areas, as Bersabahray mentioned. I call those the five pillars of life. Financial is one of them, and that's the amount of money that you have, your stock portfolio, your real estate, your investments, your business worth, all those financial things. And they are important, but please remember, they're only 1/5 of the equation. They're not all
Mhm.
in total wealth. And what financial wealth gives you, some degree of financial wealth, doesn't mean you have to be a multimillionaire or a billionaire, but enough so that you can have a foundation upon which to build into the other four, please listen to me, viewer, more important pillars of true well-being. And so the second pillar is relational. Now, most of us think of that as romance.
Mhm.
I'm a romantic guy, I think.
Yes, you are.
Um, so I'm in alignment with romance, and I'm a big advocate of marriage for all of you who are single. It's just a wonderful thing when it's right, and so That's relational wealth, but there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
You can measure the quality of your life by the quality of your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And you have a relationship with everything. You have a relationship with your body.
Mm-hmm.
You have a relationship with money. You have a relationship
With food.
with food.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd ask the viewer, how are you doing there? Because research tells us most people aren't doing very well, I should say, in those three areas. You have a relationship with your work associates, your family, your friends, your colleagues. You have a relationship with nature. Most important relationship we've already talked about, in our opinion, our experience, is a relationship with God.
Yep.
You know, you have a relationship with your creative source. And then second only to God is a relationship with yourself. And most people don't have a very good relationship with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give your viewers here a quick test to see how good their relationship is with themselves. If you can't sit in your own living room for a minimum of 1 hour by yourself with no TV, no music, no smartphone, no iPad, no food,
pets.
no pets, no conversation, no alcohol, nothing but just you and you alone for a minimum of 1 hour, then you don't like yourself very much.
Mm.
And how can you expect anyone else to enjoy your company if you don't enjoy your own company?
Yeah.
You can't, and they won't. And so you'll never, ever have a perfect relationship with another human being until you first and foremost have a perfect relationship with yourself, because you'll continue to try to fill the void of your incompleteness, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
So we
Definitely.
have financial, relational, and then we have mental, and that includes emotional. Mental is your marvelous mind. It's the greatest gift you've been given by your creator. And I'd ask the viewer to consider, how are you using it? What are you putting into it on a regular basis? What are you reading? What are you listening to? You know, is how many events do you attend every single year to improve yourself and your mind? You know, is your list of Netflix to watch longer than your list of intentions and goals? Probably not a good move. So that's mental. And then the other thing is emotional. Emotion is an interesting word. Emotion, energy in motion. It moves the body to act. And so if you want to accomplish great things with your life, which God sent you here to do, then you have to get emotionally involved. And here's the big challenge. And this is the things that Bersabahray and I help individuals work with, is that psychology tells us that 95% of what drives your daily behavior is fully unconscious. It's completely out of your awareness. And what's in your unconscious? Well, it's what we call unresolved emotional issues, things that happened, like Bersabahray had a lot of trauma as a child. The ages of birth to 14 are the most formative years. And we don't have a lot of resources to deal with those. So we do our best to power through or to get past them, and we stuff them and we think they're gone, but they're not gone.
Yeah.
They're in that 95% and they're driving behavior. So financial, relational, mental, emotional, and then we have physical. This is your physical body. It's your strength, your flexibility. Here's a really important distinction. Your physical body, in the Buddhist tradition, they call it the precious human body. In the Christian tradition, they call it the temple. How are you doing with your temple? Because most people are not doing a very good job here. You know, your body, please hear me as a viewer, your body is the only vehicle that God has to show up in this physical world and to move around and to accomplish things. So what kind of vehicle are you giving to God?
Yeah.
Most people are not doing a very good job there. And so then financial, relational, mental, physical, and then we have spiritual. And that's sometimes hard to define because it's so personal. But and I can't define it for you. I'm not qualified. And I don't believe your clergy or your rabbi is qualified either. It's a very personal thing. But what I will tell you is that you're hardwired to have a spiritual experience. And you can have, I know this from personal experience, you can have all the financial, relational, mental, physical wealth in the world. And if you don't have that that spiritual
Mhm.
connection, you're going to feel a void.
Yeah.
So those are the 5 pillars. And when those are in harmony, then you're really, truly wealthy.
Wow. And you're so right. At the end of the day, it's wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And that me, myself, and I time is very critical. And like you said, most people can't spend 1 hour just being with themselves. There's a lot of people in that situation, a ton of people. They
Mhm.
always have to be in the pandemic. One of the positives of that is you had no choice. You had to be still.
Mhm.
Yes.
You had to be still.
And that drives most
That's
people
true.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bersabah and I, we were great during the quote pandemic because we
Mhm.
enjoy each other's company and we're both very independent and
Mhm.
she has her space and I have mine. But we have clients who were married who realized they were living with someone that they didn't like very much.
Yeah.
Mm,
And and there was nowhere to go. Oh my God, I can't go to work. I can't get out of here.
Yeah.
But I will tell
Unfortunate.
you as well, Ida, that if I had not worked in the 5 pillars prior to the tsunami hitting my life, it would have swept me away because it's I lost everything tangible, but
Mhm.
what I didn't lose is what was inside,
mm.
and that became stronger.
Mhm.
And so because I'd done that kind of work, and Bersabah has done that too, I feel like I'm hogging all the
No, you're good.
today. Is that,
This is
um,
what he does. I just support him.
supports me very, very well. But if I hadn't have invested in those things, I don't know that I would be here today. I really don't.
Yes, and you're right because we got to build those muscles up. And
Mhm.
every one of them, like you said, is important. And you need all of them in order to be balanced. So, how do people work with you? How do people work with you? I am so excited that you're here. You just don't know.
Well, we're excited that you're excited.
Yeah,
Go
we're
ahead.
just to be here.
How do people work with?
How well, for one, you guys can go and download. We have a free gift for your audience. Is you can download the Harmonic Wealth book that James was referring to about the 5 pillars, and you go to harmonicwealthglobal.com forward harmonic. Did I say global? Yeah, harmonicwealthglobal.com / book.
And
Mhm.
it's
And it's completely free. You can download that, and it will help quite a bit. And that's what we're trying to do is help people, individuals, become, for one, independent thinkers, and second, well, first would be to be completely solid and content inside
Mhm.
without anything external, and then to become independent thinkers. So
Yeah.
that's our wish for your audience.
yeah.
And
And
that's a wonderful wish. So thank you.
if they
Thank
want
you.
to work, go ahead and tell them how they can work with you. If
Oh, if they'd like
she
to
does some wonderful work, by the way.
do one-on-one work, to go back and work if you've experienced any kind of trauma, unresolved emotional issues, or something that you can't quite figure out what it is that is keeping you limited and stuck, you can schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I've made it very cost effective for people on purpose because I know it's highly needed,
Mhm.
and it's an actual it's experiential. So the person is not just going to come in and we're not going to just sit there and talk and I'm going to give you advice. We're actually going to go in and work on it and resolve it, and you will walk away having the experiencing the change that took place within our time together.
Yes, and that's so important. And what I find is people that actually help people sometimes with trauma, they just charge too much.
Yeah.
I just think they make it unaffordable.
Mm-hmm.
They make it so it's not something that's sustainable because you need to be with somebody more than one time for sure in
Yeah.
order to get through trauma. Because a lot of times when you go through trauma, you don't know all of the triggers.
Right.
Right.
They have to be discovered.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do that. I work with, and that's exactly what happens. I'm glad you brought that up because I'll have someone do one session, and then what I normally recommend is to get three, because you even get a bigger savings on it, because it takes at least 3 to 6. Now, the more they purchase, the more discounts I give them, because you can't just do a one-time thing, because it's so intertwined web of how things are connected to each other in the bad experiences that we've had in life and the decisions we've made from those bad experiences, which is not really who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing of it is, when you working with somebody and you building those 5 pillars, you're going to need that all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to always need to reach back and grab something from it, because life, as you continue to live, things will continue to happen.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
so true. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I chose the word harmony, because harmony is dynamic. It's like if you listen to a beautiful piece of music, sometimes they're leading with the woodwind, sometimes it's the brass, sometimes it's the drums.
Mm-hmm.
They all come together to form this amazing tapestry called the music. Well, there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be times in your life where you're maybe putting more energy and effort towards your business, let's say. Well, just because you're spending 10 hours, for instance, in your business, doesn't mean you need to spend 10 hours in the gym to be healthy. Thank God, right? So, but where we fall down, Ida, is we tend to get myopic. We get into one thing in my business and we neglect the other 4 pillars, and we'll put business under financial. We neglect the other 4 pillars and then we break
Yeah.
because we're not holistic and we're not well-rounded. And
Mhm.
it's those other things and then sometimes you're going to be working more on your relationship. Bersabahray and I have worked very intensively and extensively for the last 6 years probably
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah,
our
definitely.
relationship.
Yeah.
It's a relationship is not all unicorns and
Yeah.
fairy
Roses and
tales.
butterflies.
It's
Who you telling?
it's not. I mean, it's work. It is
Oh, it is
work. It's daily work and commitment.
constant. Yeah.
And so sometimes you're working more on your relationships,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes more on your finances, sometimes more on your health and fitness.
Yeah.
But the key is to constantly put some energy and effort, not equally in all cases, but some energy and effort towards all 5 of those pillars. So
Yeah.
you're right. It's a constant for me, even for the guy who wrote the book. It's a constant.
Yes, and it's got to be, because we don't know what's around the corner at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's one of the things of living, is it's always trials and tribulations. Always. If you
Right.
have a day and everything is at peace, that's a blessing.
Yes, it is. You should savor it. You should
Yeah.
savor it because
Should be really grateful for that day.
there's a chaos
Yes.
day coming. None of us is immunized, and
Yeah.
particularly, we believe, and it's pretty obvious to us, and I think you may agree, Ida, we live in turbulent times. We
Mm.
really
Yes, we
do.
do.
And it's easy to look around at the world and go, where in the heck is this going? Because it seems so chaotic. Well,
Mm-hmm.
take heart, keep the faith, because our experience is God always has a plan.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just hard to see the plan,
Sure.
and
Yes.
it never unfolds as quickly as we'd like it to, but you have to stay grounded
Mhm.
and have to stay in that faith and that confidence that you keep moving forward one day at a time.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We're definitely going to have to do this again, probably like a few times, because there's so much content that needs to be covered. And I'm one of those kind of people that I believe people need to hear things numerous times in order to get their aha moment. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, the world is hurting. It really is. And you guys are a blessing to be able to share what you're sharing with us today. and to help people.
Yeah.
Because, some people are in situations and they don't they don't know they don't know nothing about pillars. One pillar, not alone five. So I am definitely honored that you came today, and we're definitely going to have you return because I would like to talk about different areas in depth.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'd love to
Yeah,
come back.
we'd love to do that.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So again, how do people get the book? Well, I'm going to put it in the notes, so that's a gift that you're giving everyone. But if
Yeah.
people want to connect with you, how do they do so?
You can just go to harmonicwealthglobal.com
Mhm.
and to contact us and send us a message, and we'll come right back to you.
All righty now. Wow. You made my day. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank,
for having us,
Well, the
Ida.
feeling is mutual.
Yes.
Keep doing great work, Ida, and thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you, audience. Thank you to our guests and you, our valued audience, for stopping by. We truly appreciate you. Many blessings to you and yours.